Welcome guys back to another video in the channel. Today we are doing the Arsenal season's rating as the Premier League was concluded with a 3-2 win against Watford on the final day at home. A good win, but again not a great performance. I did do a match reaction to that, so go check that out. And we are going to look at the 23-man squad that did play in the Premier League this season, and we are going to be rating every single one of them. We are also going to be rating the 3 different managers we've had this season, which is crazy to think, since Wenger was there for 22 years and we've literally had 3 managers in one season. It is crazy. And looking at, because I've worked this out beforehand, what rating I'm going to give every player, and the average rating I've given, I made it average, and it is not great. It's not great at all. So I'll be getting straight into it, and hopefully you guys do enjoy this. So let's get straight into it. First one is Bernd Leno. Now I have given him a 9 because Bernd Leno has been exceptional this season. He is probably one of my players of the season. He has been so good, and I think without him and a few other players I think would be in the relegation zone. Some of the saves he has made have been exceptional. Maybe to improve for Bernd Leno, maybe his kicking, maybe some of his distribution, playing out the back. But again, he is still relatively in a good age as a goalkeeper. It's like 26, 27, and I think he has plenty of room to grow still, and I think he will do, because he is a goalkeeper, and for that he is relatively young still. And yeah, I think Bernd Leno 9, he has been exceptional. Next one for me is Emi Martinez, and he also for me gets a 9. He has been so good. I think for him, the pressure of filling Bernd Leno's because he has been so good, Bernd Leno, and for Emi Martinez just to step in and take that role. And some are even saying he could be Arsenal's number 1. He's better than Bernd Leno, and I think in some aspects he is, and in some aspects maybe not. But I think overall Emi Martinez could be a better goalkeeper than Bernd Leno, but for me a 9 as well, because the pressure of filling his boots, Arsenal fans are thinking, oh, we are screwed for the rest of the season, we're screwed. But Emi Martinez came in, he has been so good for us, and I think if it's going to be such a big toss-up, Mikhail Arteta, he will have such a dilemma. Who do you pick, Leno or Martinez? I think for the cup final it will be Martinez, but going forward, who do you pick? Because if you don't pick one, then you have to sell the other, because the other just won't stay. Martinez won't be a number 2 anymore unless we do get European football by winning the cup final. I think you could try and give Leno the Europe or Martinez the Europe and the cups and that, so the games are evened out. We'll have to see what happens in that. But for the 2 goalkeepers, 9, Martinez 9, and we are going to be moving on to the defenders now. First of all, Hector Bellerin, I'm going to give him a 5. I think he's had a very mix and match season. I think most of the season he's played quite poor, but then some aspects when the competition has come with the likes of Cedric and now is fighting for his position, I think he really has come into his own. He has played much better. He has struggled to recover from that ACL he did get, but I think straight down the middle for me 5. I think he's just not really been good enough in my opinion. I think 5 suits him best. Next one is Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now for me, again, another 5. This is because Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he had an attitude problem. His attitude wasn't good at all, which is why Mikhail Arteta dropped him. I think even before, he actually played alright, and under Emery, when he did play he didn't really play a lot, and when he did play, he was horrendous. And again, his attitude wasn't very good. Recently he has played, he has some really good performances. Mikhail Arteta is starting to trust him, and his attitude is looking much better. That game against Manchester City was a good example. Arteta still does trust him, and I think for me, for overall in the season, I am going to give him a 5. Next defender is Kieran Tierney. Now for me, this is an 8. He has been so good, and I think if it wasn't for his injuries, he would get a 9 or even a 10 for me, because Kieran Tierney has been so good. He looks like a true leader, and he has been probably one of our best defenders this season, and probably one of our best centre-backs, and that's saying something. He's not even played centre-back for that long, and I think he is playing that left sort of side of centre-back because he can't really trust Sead Kolasinac, and I do think Kieran Tierney can continue, and if we do get out of the back 3 and start playing a back 4, I think he could be a really good left-back, especially bombing up the field with the likes of Saka or Aubameyang in front of him. I think he could be a real force going forward, Kieran Tierney, and his defending is very good as well, and he is a very good leader. And I think he has been very unlucky with his injuries, but he has bounced back very well, and for him an 8 is a very high score because he has been injured, as I said. So for Kieran Tierney, I'm going to give him an 8. Next one is Sead Kolasinac. Now for me, I'm going to give him a 3. The only 2 good things he's actually done this season is protecting Mesut Ozil and playing well against Manchester United. Other than that, I don't think Kolasinac has done anything good this season, and I don't think he warrants a place to be in this Arsenal side. And I think for left back, I don't know what Arsenal should do. Should we sell him and bring in a Kuzawa who's on a free? I'm not sure if has he signed a contract at PSG? I'm not even sure. We could play Saka in that position if Tierney does get injured again, but again, for me, Sead Kolasinac just hasn't been good enough this season. Last season he was actually alright. He played pretty well in my opinion, and he just hasn't been good enough this season. I know it's 3 managers, I know you have that thing, different styles, but I just think he hasn't been good enough, Kolasinac, and it's pretty much as simple as that. And I do think he needs to be sold this summer, and I'm going to give him a 3. Next one is Squadron Mustafi. Now for me, I'm going to give him a 6. This is because under Mikhail Arteta, which has been most of the season pretty much, he has been very, very good. And again, the way he's sort of bounced back, and he has been one of our best centre-backs, and the fact he is missing the FA Cup final because of a nasty injury means, Arsenal fans are missing it. They are quite devastated that he is missing the final, and that's saying something. It's a credit to his ability. He has been so good, Mustafi, this season. I think, again, I still don't think he is the best centre-back moving forward. I do think we need to sell him, but again, the fact that Mikhail Arteta is putting the trust in him is very good, and I do think Mustafi has been one of the best centre-backs in the last season, which is why I'm going to give him a 6. Again, under the last 2 managers, he wasn't very preferred, Freddie Umberg even, and Unai Emery, so yeah, a 6 for me. Next one is David Luiz. Now, David Luiz, what do you say about this guy, mate? One day he can be Paolo Maldini, and the next day this guy can be Krusty the Clown. This guy is so unpredictable, I swear. That game against Man City, he was so good, and then that game against Watford, he just gives away penalties. Apparently he's set a record now for giving away the most penalties in a Premier League season. He's had so many, how many red cards has he had? He's had a few actually red cards in a season. Just hasn't been good enough, to be honest, David Luiz, but he's only getting a 5 because he has put in some good performances, and he has been one of our best centre-backs this season. Still one of our best centre-backs, and that's saying how poor we are in that defensive area, especially in that centre-back role. So I do think David Luiz, he's not the greatest moving forward, but at least for the next year until he sees out his contract, he is a pivotal part of the squad. He does bring happiness into the squad. He does help the younger players like Gabrielle Martinelli, and I do think David Luiz needs to stay, but for this season I'm going to give him a straight down the middle of 5. Next one is Socrates. Again, I'm not going to say too much about him. He hasn't played a lot. Again, he was preferred under Unai Emery. He played quite a lot alongside Luiz, and then Mikel Arteta did pick him, and then after lockdown he just wasn't picked at all. So I'm going to give Socrates a 4. Next one is Rob Holding. Again, not too much to say because he really hasn't played enough. He had a horrible injury, and then he came back and he just didn't play, to be honest. He played that game against Portsmouth, and then he played another few games under Mikel Arteta when Luiz did have that suspension. He has played okay, but to be fair, I can't give him much more than a 4, which is what I'm going to give him. Next one is Callum Chambers. Now, for the first half of the season, he was actually very, very good, probably our best centre-back until he actually got injured, and Callum Chambers, that injury didn't do him good because he was playing so well, and it gave me deja vu to when Holding got injured. He was probably our best centre back, then got injured. Hopefully he recovers well from this ACL, Callum Chambers, and I would like to see him do well under Mikel Arteta, but I'm going to give him a 5, one more than Socrates and Chambers, only for the reason that he was so good when he played. He could play right back, he played centre back, he was very good for us, and I'm going to give him Callum Chambers a 5. Next one is Granite Shaka. Now we are going to move into the midfield with Granite Shaka. Again, for me, this guy has really turned it around, especially with the incident against Crystal Palace. I think the way Mikel Arteta grabbed him around the shoulder and said, he is staying, because we all thought after that Crystal Palace incident he is going to leave in January, but he didn't, because Mikel Arteta wanted him to stay. And if Granite Shaka isn't playing, he isn't playing, because our midfield looks so lackluster. We don't look defensive enough. Not defensive enough, but we don't look solid enough, and I think Granite Shaka really brings that to the squad, and he's a pivotal part right now, and I'm going to give him a 7. Obviously the first half of the season he wasn't very good, so I can't really give him much more than a 7, but he's been so good for us after Mikel Arteta's appointment, so I'm going to give Granite Shaka a 7. Next one is Lucas Torreira. Now for him I'm going to give him a 3. He has been so poor this season. I know under Unai Emery he did have that position problem where Emery tried playing him in number 10. He had a lot of confidence dip, he looks homesick, and I just think he hasn't worked out for him in England. Again, he's just one of those players, doesn't matter how good talent you have, if you don't settle, then you're not going to play with your full heart, and I think it just hasn't happened for Lucas Torreira. His first season at Arsenal was very positive. He did some very good things, to be honest, and I just don't think after that it's really kicked on. Even under Mikel Arteta, he was getting picked before Dani Ceballos came into the fold for Mikel Arteta, and it's just not worked out for Lucas Torreira. He does on the pitch, he looks quite happy, but again it just doesn't seem it's working out, and I would sell him, but for me he has been very poor, so I'm going to give him a 3 for this season. Next one is Dani Ceballos. Now for him I'm going to give him a 7, same with Granite Shaka. Now Ceballos is another one similar to Xhaka. He has really turned it around, because at the start of the season he actually looked very, very good in the first few games, but after that he just sort of faded. Then he had a couple of injuries, and then obviously Mikel Arteta, then lockdown, and after lockdown he was really coming to his own. He's played so well, and I think only because of that he's getting a 7. And I think if you asked me before lockdown what his rating would be, I'd probably say like a 4 or a 5. He has really stepped it up, and I'm going to give him a 7, and I hope he does stay and renew his loan or sign permanently. I don't care, but I really want Ceballos to be in the side. His pivot with Xhaka is very good for the side, and I hope he does stay, and I'm going to give Danny Ceballos a 7. Next one is Joe Willock. For me, he has had a very up and down season, he's had some very good moments, and for some reason, in other moments, he has been very lackluster. He has had that energy, but his final product just hasn't been very good, and I just think his decision making is very wrong at times, and he really needs to fix that up if he does have a future at this club. I think he does. He has played quite a lot of Premier League games, to be honest, and he has been quite a good part of the squad, which shows that the managers do trust him. Even Unai Emery, to be honest, and even Mikhail Arteta, when he has come into the side, obviously started that game against Manchester City in the first game back from lockdown, and I do think Willock, he just needs to step up his game, but I can't really give him much more than a 5 because he hasn't really done much in the Premier League, so that's why I'm going to give Joe Willock a 5. Next one is Matteo Guendouzi, and for him I'm going to give him a 2, and it's quite simple. Matteo Guendouzi, his attitude is not good enough. He thinks he's bigger than the club. He has had quite a good season, to be honest, on the pitch, and if it wasn't for his antics, I would probably give him like a 6 or even a 7 because he has been pretty good. He's just, he just hasn't been good enough. Nicola says he's fallen out with him twice, and it's just not worked out for Guendouzi, and I think he will leave. But for this season, I'm going to give Guendouzi a 2. Next one is Mesut Ozil. I'm going to give him a 0. He has done nothing this season. I hope he leaves. Next is Nicola Pepe. He has had quite a decent season. He's been involved directly in 19 goals this season. I think for his first season in England, especially being at Lille in France, it's a very big step up, and I know the price tag has been very big for him as well, and I think it's hard to live up to that, but I think he's done okay, to be honest. Some people think he's been an absolute flop, he's done nothing, blah blah blah, but I think he's actually been alright, and I hope he does kick on next season, maybe like a Christian Pulisic coming in for a big price tag, young player, and I hope he does push on Nicola Pepe because he is a very good player with a lot of talent, so I'm going to give him a 7. Next one is Bukay Osaka. He has been so good this season. For a youngster, he's been absolutely exceptional. I'm going to give him an 8 because he signed that new contract. He's been playing so well. He's given him the number 7 shirt actually, and that just it's a credit to what he's done, and hope he kicks on next season because that's the big thing. It's all good doing it in one season, but when the club suss you out, when they know you're going to do, that's where the great players adapt to that and change certain things what they do to try and beat teams, and that's what I think what Bukay Osaka needs to do next season if he really wants to push on and be a great player for this club. And for Bukay Osaka, I'm going to give him an 8. Next one is Gabrielle Martinelli. Now I feel very bad for him because he did have that training injury which meant he couldn't play post lockdown. Again, I feel bad for him, and he's been so good. I'm going to give him an 8 for his contributions this season because he's been such a revelation, coming in for £6 million. He's up there with the likes of Mason Greenwood for the Young Players of the Year, but his contributions have been in Europe, but you have to see what happens with that because he will return in 2021 next year, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Gabrielle Martinelli next season. But for this season, I'm going to give him an 8. Next one is Alexandra Lacazette. Now Lacazette, he's had again a very up and down season. He has scored some pretty decent goals at decent times, very pivotal goals, especially in the North London derby when he scored. That was a pretty good goal, and he has scored a few more goals. Again, he scored it again in the North London derby. He scored twice in the North London derby this season, which shows he has been a very good player this season. But again, sometimes he's just not scored. Again, he's just not been good enough in some games, and I think before that Spurs game, he hadn't scored in an away game over like a year or something. So again, great strikers have to score both home and away. For him, I'm going to give him a 6 this season. It just hasn't been his year, and last season he was the player of the season. That was a big credit to what he had done and achieved. But for Alexandra Lacazette this season, I'm going to give him a 6. Next one is Eddie Nketiah. He did spend the first half of the year on loan at Leeds. I'm not really going to mark that, but the second half of the season he was here with Arsenal, and he did play quite a pivotal part, as Mikhail Arteta did pick him in quite a few games. I'm going to give him a 4 just for the fact that he only played half a season and he didn't really contribute too much. He did score a few good goals, to be honest, and some pivotal ones as well to win games, and I just think again, he just needs to push on. He needs to do a bit more better. Same thing with he's similar to Joe Willock. He really needs to improve his decision making because he can be a very good player when he does those things, and I think Eddie Nketiah needs to push on next season. He needs to make it his own if he does want to earn that striker spot, especially with Aubameyang and Lacazette's futures under threat. But for Eddie Nketiah, I'm going to give him a 4. Next one is Rhys Nelson. Now for Rhys Nelson, again, he just hasn't been good enough this season. You know, he came from Hoffenheim, you know, full of promise. Again, I know it's under 3 managers, different playing styles, different tactics and things like that. But he's been given chances under Mikhail Arteta, and I just don't think he has proven anything. Yes, he did score against Liverpool, but he was gifted the opportunity. And in that game against Liverpool, he was very poor. He was getting ripped apart in that game, and I just don't think Rhys Nelson will push on. I don't see any evidence that he will. I think he really needs to improve, be ruthless, be aggressive, and I think he will push on. But again, next season will be a really vital year for Rhys Nelson if he does want to push on, be part of this Arsenal squad. So for Rhys Nelson, I am going to actually give him a 4. Last one is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in terms of the players. Now Aubameyang, I'm going to give him a 10. Simple. You know, he's scored so many goals. He needs to stay with us. I can't say much more for this guy. Please stay. Please stay. We need this guy in our squad. And Aubameyang, a simple 10. Without him, we'd be in the relegation zone. Simple as that. So yeah, Aubameyang, a 10. We'll be marking the managers now. First of all, Unai Emery, I'm going to give him a 2. He really did not do justice after that transfer window. We had such a strong transfer window. We actually won our first 2 games, but after that, it's been a downhill ride. You know, he's just not dealt with situations enough. He lost the dressing room, Granite Shaka problem, Ozil problem. It just hasn't worked out for him as a Unai Emery, and he was sacked after the Frankfurt loss, 2-1 loss at home, and after that he was sacked. So yeah, Unai Emery, I'm going to give him a 2. Next one is Freddie Umberg. I'm going to give him a 5 straight down the middle. He drew against Norwich, he beat West Ham, and we lost to City 3-0, and then we drew Everton 0-0, I think. Yeah, that's it. He only had 1 win, but he did give us our first away win of the season, which was very good. And I think Freddie Umberg, he sort of lifted the moods a bit. You know, he sort of just lifted the bad atmosphere from the club. We didn't really have that bounce. We didn't win many games. We only won the 1. But again, yeah, straight down the middle for Freddie Umberg, a 5. Next one, obviously, Mikhail Arteta. The season rating for him, I'm going to give Mikhail Arteta a 7. This is quite a modest rating in my opinion, but he's really turned around some things at the club. You know, he's made the club, you know, he's made the players wanna win for him, wanna play for him, and I think that's a big reason why Mikhail Arteta was brought in. You know, to try and steady the ship a bit until we can get into a transfer window. Obviously, we've had Corona and this like that. He had that as well, and he has brought us to some great results. Obviously, beating Man United, beat Liverpool, beat Man City, and we could beat Chelsea next week. So again, a big credit to what Mikhail Arteta has done so far, and hopefully he can kick on with players he can sign. So yeah, that is Mikhail Arteta. I'm going to give him a 7. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Those were my player ratings. Quickly go from again. Leno 9, Martins 9, Bellerin 5, Niles 5, Tierney 8, Klein 3, Mustafi 6, Luiz 5, Papa 4, Holding 4, Chambers 5, Xhaka 7, Lucas 3, Ceballos 7, Willock 5, Guendouzi 2, Ozil 0, Pepe 7, Saka 8, Gabi 8, Lacazette 6, Eddie 4, Aubameyang 10, Emery 2, Freddie 5, and Mikhail 7, and Nelson, I forgot, I put him as a 4. So yeah, the average ratings for the players, it was actually 5.7, which was quite bad, and the average rating for the managers was 4.6. So again, it's not a great season. Hopefully we can push on. We did finish at 8. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe. See you guys in the next one.